Steve keeps that at those in the hospital, he gets a heart.
Wow.
Good morning, everyone. Let's, Happy New Year. This is the January meeting of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And before we get into the agenda, I'd like to introduce a few people. I'd like to introduce Robert Kavanaugh, who is the new member of the BLDC board. He represents Binghamton's 3rd district in city council. Welcome. We're glad to have you on board.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I'd also like to introduce and welcome Sophie Bergman, who's our new city attorney, and is also sort of the counsel to the Local Development Corporation as well. We're delighted to have you, Sophie, and Janine Faulkner joins us from she is the new economic development specialist in the mayor's economic development office. So Janine, welcome. So we've got a full house this morning, and we'll dig right in. Is that okay?
That's great.
All right, great. So you've got the minutes from the December 14th meeting. I'll entertain a motion whenever anyone's ready.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Saul. Any comments or questions on the minutes? All right, all in favor?
Thanks.
Great, thank you. Rachel, the treasurer's report for December, please.
So this is the financial report for December. And we'll start on page 4 for the restricted account. The end of month balance in restricted was $565,740.11. On the next page, the receivables, just the one loan still paying regularly. And then the two that have been in default. On the next page, page 6, we have the UDAG account. The end of month balance in UDAG was $685,494.38. On page 7, I guess, is the receivables for the UDAG loans. Everybody who was paying continues to be paying regularly. We have a couple of loans that remain in default. The Garland loan, she got her last drawdown this month, so she'll begin paying off that loan in February. That one to being active. On the following page for the unrestricted account, not very much activity in unrestricted. We had the payment come in for the option on the Charles Street Business Park from Pure Beauty. We had a reimbursement come in from the mayor's office for the Columbus Day Parade. The following page for the Triad account, there was no activity in the veterans account, no activity in the grant account. Then on the final page, page 12, you see our borrowers in default that are the same as last month. So effective 12/31, the delinquency percentage for all loans not designated as non-performing was 0.42.
And I know we've talked about these loans that are in default a couple times. Now that Sophie's on board, that's a conversation we're going to be having with her on how to proceed on that. We're letting her work on some more time-sensitive things right now, but those conversations, yeah, Ron's been asking for this for about a decade, so.
Yeah, 2009, I saw.
So that'll be good. Another change you'll see, I think right now there's some money from the city related to the Boscov's project that's housed in the unrestricted fund. At some point, that's going to go into its own account. It's going to govern that entire project. So we're going to be having conversations over the next month. I know we talked, I believe, last month about looking at some alternate banking options, some different ways of maximizing our investments here. We want to continue to have those conversations and figure out what the best structure is. But that money will, in some way, shape, or form, be segregated from the rest and be dedicated exclusively to this project.
Any other questions or comments for Rachel? Great, thank you very much. Seeing that there's no old business, we have one resolution under new business this morning. It's resolution 24-9, resolution of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation authorizing the president to enter into an agreement with Broome County for financial assistance to support the economic development at 13 Court Street. any introduction to this or?
This is the fulfillment of County Executive Garner's dedication to the Boscov's project. This is ARPA funds that the county have allocated for this use. So again, that'll go into that separate account that we're using for Boscov's. So now we'll have the city's money, the county's money, and we are still waiting on the state to give us the paperwork for the money from Assemblywoman Pardo.
That's great.
I'll just say too, with this, certainly significant, if not unprecedented in terms of county support for this entity, the BLDC, and generally economic development in Binghamton. So, really my thanks to the county executive, Chairman Reynolds, for their support of the project and the different funding sources that are going to make this a reality. This is, a large investment by Broome County into the city of Binghamton, and we're very thankful for it.
How much is the Lepardo money then?
5 million. So just to kind of refresh everyone's memory, 5 million from Lepardo, 2.5 million from the city of Binghamton, and 1 million from Broome County. In addition to, I think 1.5 from Boscov's, for a total of a $10 million project in exchange for the 10-year lease on the building.
Can I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Susan, thank you, Betsy. Any further comments, questions? All right, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That's great. This is a very important piece of business, and this project is moving forward, which is great news. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Sure, thank you. Again, I want to give welcome to Robert and Sophie, who are new faces to the board. I think, Robert brings a lot of great expertise as a small business owner on the west side, and really excited to have his perspective and everything on the BLDC. I think it'll be great. Sophie, brings a wealth of knowledge and has really hit the ground running in just a few weeks as corporation counsel. So we're excited for the new members. There's a couple things just to update everyone on regarding the BLDC. The big project that's happening right now has to do with a parking garage in Boscov's, and there's kind of, three, I call it two main things that are going on right now. Number one is actual construction of the new garage, which foundation work is being completed by William H. Lane. As we speak, you'll see William H. Lane trucks over there doing that work. And the city has signed an agreement with the precast contractor Unistress, which was the same firm that did the work at 7 Hawley Street. And so that precast concrete is being fabricated. And then some point in the early springtime, probably April, we as of right now, you will see those precast being trucked in and assembled like Legos on the site once the foundation work is complete. So it's about a $25 million total project there for the Water Street parking garage. As I said at previous meetings, the design retains the city's ability in the future to add housing when hopefully the interest rate market calms down a little bit, or there's some additional state grants that make the numbers work. Roughly 500 parking spots, 60 parking spaces on the ground floor to support lots of turnover, retail and restaurant operations. This again was a key part of keeping Boscov's in Binghamton, but also more to support, economic development goals in downtown. The fact that we've lost that Water Street parking garage, we need to make sure that that's back on, not just to support holiday shopping at Boscov's, but job creation, et cetera, downtown. So in addition to the actual work of the garage, which is independent from the Boscov store, the old parking garage actually was sort of cantilevered over the men's store, which meant that the men's store never had a proper roof. It never had proper drainage. And the roof of the men's store is basically the floor of a parking garage. As you can imagine, that led to a lot of the leaks that anyone who walks in the store can see. So as part of the really completing the demolition work on the Water Street parking garage, that area that was really hanging over Boscov's, we're doing work with Agora Construction and Weathermaster to remove that intricate garage columns and glass that's there, put on a proper weatherproof roof on the men's store specifically, and then be able to have that secured. And it's about a $2 million investment to kind of complete that. There's also some work that has to be done with setting, I think, an air handler, is that correct?
Cooling tower.
Cooling tower. So, that work will be done, and that actually work is underway right now, correct?
Actually, you could not walk into the men's store today. It's been shut down.
Mhm.
They'll be shut down there for a month while they're doing the work above.
So that's kind of what you will see if you walk down on Water Street. CJS Architects is working as well on a final design. While the precast concrete is designed and is in production, certainly there are some very limited plumbing, electrical, work that has to be designed for the full garage. And we're also working with them on an idea for a facade to have, kind of a beautiful screening or some sort of, vibrant downtown facade, drawing inspirations from some other, really neat parking garages. So that's in talks right now, but definitely something that when complete, we want it to be a showpiece for downtown Binghamton. A lot of people remarked about the aesthetics of the 7 Hawley Street garage once it was complete. So we want to either match that or even exceed the, attractiveness to downtown in that regard. Just on a couple other quick notes, on Tuesday, the City of Binghamton and the Chamber of Commerce hosted our latest community building series. You recall the last 2 events covered the state of our infrastructure and the state of our downtowns. This was regarding the state of manufacturing, and Pear sat on a panel to discuss with some other folks that are interested in advanced manufacturing, energy storage, as well as microprocessors, to talk about what is happening in New York State and what is happening really in our community as relates to these key industries. And I think that everyone in the room came away with just an overwhelming amount of positive information about the opportunities that are available for companies, not only in these sectors, but also that can support their supply chains, the opportunities for job training, job creation from the high school level all the way through, advanced degrees. So, Pear, we thank you for participating in that. I think you brought a lot of good information to the table. And I hope that a lot of people who attended that, came away with having a lot of confidence in, what is going to be happening with advanced manufacturing and job creation, really in our region. I'll also say that last week I was in Washington, D.C. for the U.S. Conference of Mayors, had a chance to visit the White House and hear with a few hundred mayors from President Biden, who touted the CHIPS and Science Act as part of the national economic development focus to create good paying jobs. Binghamton is one of those 30 or so communities that received a tech hub designation and will be able to have federal funding funnel their way, priority funding for international companies that are looking to site and building chips and building, energy storage. So, from the pages of the State of the Union and the White House to this room, right? Binghamton economic development has a seat at the table and, is a key focus. And I'm really excited about what the next 5-10 years means in those industries. The other thing I'll say, and I don't know if you want to cover the cannabis update for Charles Street, basically the option agreement that this board supported, the not just breathe, Pure Beauty was one of only, I think, 12 applicants to the state for a cultivation manufacturing approval. That was less than what was anticipated. So increasing the chances that the state will view this favorably. I view that as a really good thing. And I'm really hopeful about that as well as we chase the retail side. Obviously, we have some movement there. We're getting some tax revenue, but this is on the jobs and the cultivation manufacturing side of the cannabis industry. That's really all I had.
Thank you, Mayor. That was a good speech.
Yeah. And I rehearsed it all. Yeah.
That's great.
It was very exciting to see a crane down front.
So one of the things I always talk about is that, and I don't know whose idea this was, but I think I heard this on a podcast at some point. The crane count is a really good, quick and easy determination of how to judge how much economic activity is happening in a city. So, the Seattles, the San Jose's, the
They have a lot of
Austin,
cranes.
Denver, the crane counts up, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes the crane count in Binghamton's 0.
I know. That's why it's nice to see.
So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I mean, it's a good indication of large scale capital investment, union jobs, all the stuff that we like. So we're getting the crane count up is what I want to say.
Should buy our own, just set it up.
You gotta talk to the president about that. Yeah,
Perception is real. No hanging, everybody.
that's right.
Tinker Toys. Great. Thank you, Mayor, very
Yep.
much.
Sarah?
Just want to piggyback on the mayor's updates on Boscov's and give a big thank you to Chuck for all of his coordination and management of the construction and phasing. I think the fact that the men's store was only fully offline, it's gonna be about 3 weeks, I mean, 4 weeks. Boscov's is really happy with the level of work that's happening, how quickly it's happening, and how much coordination we've had with them to not disrupt their operations to the extent possible while delivering a best-in-class asset. Not sure if you'd been in the men's store before this construction happened, but big tarps funneling water into buckets. I mean, not an attractive shopping experience and certainly not a sustainable way of doing infrastructure, especially in a building that this board owns. So very exciting to see that happening. And I thank Chuck a lot for all of his work on that. I also want to echo welcoming Councilmember Kavanaugh and Sophie as well as Janine. I think it'll be an exciting year for the BLDC and for the city of Binghamton as a whole, and we're happy to have you guys on the team. For an update on the lease, so Boscov's and their council are taking the first stab at the formal lease document that we will then workshop and get into a position where we can both feel comfortable signing it. The letter of intent that we all signed together, that's the framework of the lease. Those are the pieces that won't change, but just making sure that we have the history documented in the lease, as well as once we get that information from New York State and the dormitory authority of the state of New York that's overseeing those $5 million, being able to build those requirements into the lease so that any money that's spent is in line with those grant requirements. So we'll be working on that. That will be approved by this board in the coming months. We'll also be approving in the coming months the formal transfer of Boscov's from the IDA to the BLDC. So the BLDC has a reversionary interest in the property, and we've been functionally operating as the owner, but technically on paper, the IDA owns it. It's a very easy transfer. We just need to get language from the IDA's attorney so that we can reflect that in our resolution. We'll both pass resolutions and that'll formally transfer the deed over to us. We talked a couple months ago about the sale of 280 Front Street. It's one of those lots that has the pump houses on it. It's the one like right across from Carlotta Drive, Valley Street, near that gas station that's over there. I have had a well sealing company come in to give me a quote on what it would take to actually seal it in the responsible way of managing that access to the aquifer and underground water. I believe it's going to be significantly expensive. So once we get that quote back, I think we need to have a conversation probably with strategic priorities about what that looks like. We own a number of these things. They are our assets to maintain. They are a liability for us. So it may be something that we just have to bite the bullet on and seal these things and wash our hands of it. But that comes with fiscal responsibilities that we need to kind of walk into eyes wide open. Another one of them had a hole in the roof. Our maintenance team went out and patched it, but these things are going to continue to deteriorate. They have absolutely no value to us. They don't fit the mission of the BLDC because there's no economic development potential for them. But they were an asset that we inherited along with the Charles Street Business Park. So how we handle the disposition of that property, how we handle those wells in a responsible manner that protects the water and the watershed in this area, it's very important. So we'll continue to talk about that as I get more information on it. There's also 2 engagements that will probably be coming down for this board to approve. One is from Bldc. Some of you may remember that at the beginning of the Boscov's lease negotiation process, we had Bldc go through the building and give us a couple of rough estimates, kind of bronze, silver, and gold, what it would take to get that building up to standards. And now that we're moving ahead with the project, we need someone who can help us validate the prices that are coming in from Boscov's, help us validate some of the decisions that are being made, and help us determine whether those are in the best long-term interest of the building for us as the property owner. And also potentially in some cases help Boscov's work through whether something's the right operational choice, right? Does it make sense to retrofit something versus build something new? What are the cost differentials there? Just having somebody who represents the BLDC's interests in the same way the Boscov's will have people to represent their interests, but someone who can speak very specifically to the technical aspects of this that this board doesn't necessarily have the skill set or the staff for. So we have a proposal from them, but waiting to see what exactly the DASNY language looks like to again see what requirements we have to meet and make sure that that's built into all of these agreements. We're also working with Bldc. We've talked about this just transition program at 22 Charles Street, the old cogeneration plant. We're talking with Pear and his team about potentially putting in a Tech Hubs application for renovation of that property, but that comes with lots of paperwork. And so we're looking if, under that agreement, Labella is able to just fold that paperwork into our existing contract being paid for by the state. If that would have to be a separate agreement, not a huge dollar amount if it was something with us, but something that would come to this board for approval. So just things that might be coming down the pipe in the next few months. And we have a couple of loans that are gonna close this month or next. So I think Claw.
So Claw will close this month. That's a restricted loan, and that is coming. Yeah, I think this month. Just realizing that the month is almost over, but, and then next month, definitely, we'll have L2 and Puerto Roja. Those are both construction loans.
Yep, so we'll see those funds come out. As we've talked about, we're getting to the point where we can't really make any more large dollar loans. But we're also getting paid back on a lot of the loans that we've made over the past few years. So really in line with what these are supposed to be with revolving loans that are continuing to be able to receive different investment in our community. So very exciting. And we are also working behind the scenes on the commercial facade program. People who have been in the program and who haven't necessarily made progress, we're starting to have those conversations on, are they going to continue? Should we not that we gave the money up front, but should we kind of claw back our commitment? And then we have a large pipeline of projects that have applied and reallocate those funds. So that'll be a conversation with this body. And I think are we done with the 607 stuff appearance? Do we have 5?
We have 5,000 more, so we can do one more step up grant.
Yeah, and we at some point will put together something that goes over all of the investments that we made. And I know Rachel's learned a lot in this process about the people who use the money really well to kind of grow their business and people who maybe needed some more technical assistance up front. And so we're trying to figure out when we're working with these early stage businesses, how to make sure they have the most support possible. We often talk to people who are coming to us after something bad has happened. They've signed a predatory lease, they've spent money that depleted their savings, and it puts us in a situation where we can't be as helpful. And so trying to catch people early on and making sure that they have all the resources that they need to be successful, that they have financial literacy, that they have somebody in their corner when they're making large, expensive decisions. Not that we are necessarily those people, but just making sure that they are represented in some way, shape, or form. So trying to support that entrepreneurial ecosystem in this community. That's all I have.
Thank you. That's great. Any questions? Anything new? Anything we should bring up this morning? I've got something stuck in my throat. I'm trying to make it through this. All right. Motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you all very much. This will be an exciting year for the Bldc. Appreciate your support.